So, Jamie, do you know about a little story about a man named Jack the Ripper?
I do know about Jack the Ripper.
Did you see that this mystery has been solved?
I feel like it's almost like I can't stand it. Like, I think Jack the Ripper is supposed to remain solved, but it has been solved.
Yeah, pretty cool. I think like it had kind of been like tangentially solved almost, maybe, and enough to where everyone was like, okay, who cares? But like now they definitely solved it. Like they used DNA and smart stuff and stuff in labs, right? I don't know,
Right.
whatever.
Right.
And so
Like
people were like,
NCIS,
yes, you've
like,
done
yeah.
that. You've done the thing we needed. Good job. So you and I were talking like, that's really cool. And so what we want to talk about is mysteries like Jack the Ripper, but in a different way. A lot of the Jack the Ripper mystery and idea, it's influenced a lot of movies and TVs as a storyline to talk about, as a mystery. Certainly, there have been so many prostitutes that have been murdered on TV and movies thanks to Jack the Ripper. But we thought if something like Jack the Ripper hadn't happened, what would the influence have been on movies and TVs? Would that have become a popular trope like it has been, or would that have never really bubbled up? So we want to take it in a little different direction, talk about some different things that have happened in pop culture and say, what if this hadn't happened? And then kind of do the butterfly effect. Not the movie, the sociological phenomenon.
It can be the movie. That was a lovely Ashton Kutcher vehicle.
We can super do that. Did you see that movie?
I did see that movie.
You did see that movie. That seems like a Jamie movie. Seems like a Jamie movie, not going to lie.
I watched it right after Dude, Where's My Car?
It
was an Ashton Kutcher binge moment.
So do you have a mystery, a pop culture mystery that you want to bring up and we can kind of talk about?
I do have a mystery. So my first mystery out of the gate is what happened, because the mystery is what happened to Molly Ringwald. Mm-hmm. Truthfully, one of the biggest stars of her generation, truly probably really considered the greatest teen star of all time. Would you agree? Would you not agree?
Let me. Can I tell you where I'm at on Molly Ringwald?
I would like to hear it.
I was listening to the Fresh Air. It was whatever podcast Jesse Thorne does. I don't know. I feel like I'm just talking words right now. But he was like, and we're going to talk to Molly Ringwald. And then I turned it off because that's where I'm at on Molly Ringwald. I just
right.
Don't
Well,
care.
And that's the point. Like, it's so strange because she disappeared. Somebody that really defined a generation of movies. The muse of one John Hughes, who's beloved by so many. The fact that she disappeared, it seems really, to me, that's a mystery. And so I started to really research, like, what was the pinnacle moment? Mm-hmm. And if that had been different, where what would we have in Molly Ringwald today? So what happened was, according to reports, is that John Hughes, who had her in 16 Candles and Pretty in Pink and The Breakfast Club, he wanted her to star as Amanda Jones in Some Kind of Wonderful, the role that was eventually taken by Leah Thompson.
Okay.
And so he wanted her to star. She decided she did not want to do it. She wanted to pursue more adult roles. John Hughes took a huge offense to that and then really in many ways had her blackballed in Hollywood.
Really? Like actively blackballed?
Like actively blackballed. And so they had a huge falling out. She was then, however, offered three pretty large roles that she turned down, which are, she was offered Vivian in Pretty Woman.
Really?
Yes, she turned it down. She was offered the lead in Ghost, later played by Demi Moore. She turned it down. She was also offered the lead of Sally in When Harry Met Sally, later played by Meg Ryan.
Okay. Can I interject here?
Yes.
Let me ask a question instead of interrupting. Do you think we remember Molly Ringwald more fondly because she didn't do those roles? Or do you think we would remember her more fondly if she had done those roles?
I think we would first remember her at all, because I think a lot of people are like right now, like, who's Molly Ringwald?
Sure,
like,
right.
I don't even know who that is. But for me, I think she would still be having a really active career. Like, think about whose career she could have had. She could have had.
No, you're dodging the question, Jamie Golden. I want you to tell me if America watches her in When Harry Met Sally in the restaurant and she has to do the scene, do you think we look at her and laugh because there's no way she could have pulled that off?
No, we love it because she's an amazing actress.
Jamie.
Who has bad judgment. Stop it. She's a good actress. I love those movies. You don't think she's a good actress. So you're saying the issue is without John Hughes, she would not have been able to succeed in any other role.
I think her value was like in her youthfulness. Like she always looked younger than she was. I don't think she could translate into sexy. Like that they're on a scale of like 1 to, I don't know, like Kesha, like there's, no, that was actually a bad scale, wasn't it? Because
it was a horrible scale.
That's saying Kesha's sexy, but she's
that
not.
Said Kesha. I do want to make sure everybody heard that Knox believes Kesha, Ke money sign HA is sexy.
Let me try again. So on a scale from Kesha to Scarlett Johansson, she's like,
again, you've left the bar really low.
She's like dive bombing Kesha, like she's the anti-sexy, right? Like there's no way she could have been a Ghost. Are you kidding me? Patrick Swayze is a Ghost, and they're on like the clay wheel thing. That's laughable.
No,
I would have laughed.
No, do you know why that succeeds? Listen, Demi Moore would not have succeeded in that role if her hair had not been in a pixie. Let me tell you that right now. Women need to identify with the lead character. It is why women do not like Scarlett Johansson. It's why men love Scarlett Johansson, but women, unless they love a strange folk, weird music, are not as big of fans as Scarlett Johansson, because we look at her and we look at her dumb pixie cut and her overalls and we go, all right, we can see this. I could identify with her. Patrick Swayze would be in love with me. It's why Julia Roberts has never been sexy. When has Julia Roberts been sexy?
But at least you can make the case that she's pretty. Like Molly Ringwald is a prostitute that Richard Gere picked up. Like Richard Gere is not picking her up.
We're not saying that as Molly Ringwald in Pretty in Pink. We're saying that if she gets roughed up, and we don't even have her acting chops challenged, maybe Molly Ringwald is an Oscar-level actress. We just didn't have her in the right roles. Jamie.
But like, that's like saying like making Jesse Eisenberg one of the Avengers and being like, it's fine. He's a great actor.
That is offensive. And Molly Ringwald, if you are listening because you have gotten a Google alert about this podcast, please know we do not compare you to Jesse Eisenberg.
I do. Sorry.
That is horrible.
Sorry.
That's right. You know, what was interesting is I learned that she was also offered the Neve Campbell role in Scream, but she turned it down because she did not want to be playing a teen at 27.
See, she could have pulled that off, and I actually think that would have been okay. I actually think that would have been really okay.
I think all those things, like, do you think Molly Ringwald just sits around? I would think she does because we don't know where she is. So wherever she is and sits around and thinks, these were all the bad decisions I made.
I hope so, because she made a lot of poor decisions.
Because at the very least, she could have been, okay, so say she can't be Nicole Kidman. I'm thinking about actresses her age. So Nicole Kidman and Julia Roberts, Naomi Watts. Maybe she's not them, but she could have been Connie Britton.
Okay, here's what I'm saying. I misspoke earlier. I think the best thing she ever did was to not make any more movies. Because now we look at her almost like not because she's not dead, obviously, but like a Kurt Cobain. Like we remember the best of and the youthfulness, and we think of what could have been. Like this conversation we're having, we're talking about what could have been, when like the best move she made was not making any more, not being in Scream and being like, why is she doing that? You know, not playing it out, and instead of like packaging herself forever in that 80s nostalgia.
So did she make the mistake by becoming the mother in The Secret Life of the American Teenager? Is that like a series of like American Doll? That's an ABC family television series that aired for 6 seasons. Calm down.
Everybody needs a paycheck, Jamie Golden. You know, don't judge. Don't judge till you're there.
All right. Well, that's a fair question. So that's a mystery. So the mystery is we'll never know because we'll never know because she never made those choices.
We'll never know. I've got a mystery I want to throw at you and get an answer. I want to say to you, Jamie, what if, let's imagine a world if Mr. O.J. Simpson never became a murderer and murdered his wife, who would be the socialite of note in American culture right now? Because his murder brought Robert Kardashian a little bit of fame as one of the lawyers working the case, which thrust his family into the limelight, et cetera, blah, blah, blah. So basically it gave us Kim Kardashian, right?
Right.
Now, if that never happens, if the Kardashian clan never gets thrust into the limelight, if poor Bruce Jenner's nose never disappears from his face, like Back to the Future photo where the brothers and sisters just fade away, who is the socialite of note in American culture?
I think it's adorable that you think that Kim Kardashian, that her rise to fame is all based on a bloody glove. It is not.
I do know it is. It is.
She could not be held back. It would not have mattered. Some other, like a PGA golfer, would have murdered his caddy, and somehow that would have been connected to the Kardashian family, and she would have risen up in her sex tape. That sex tape was not going to not be made. That sex tape was going to be made.
We disagree. I specifically disagree with you because I see it as she is someone who is given a handful of opportunities and has maximized each and every one. I'm saying if the opportunities never presented themselves, she would have no avenue to make her claim as a socialite.
So you think that Ray J is not enough, that she being in a sex tape and her being friends with Paris Hilton, who at the time was a pretty impressive figure in pop culture,
Mm-hmm.
and Kim Kardashian was in that crowd.
Mm-hmm.
You're thinking that Kim Kardashian would have gone the way of, say,
Heidi Montag.
Yeah, so we would just never have seen her.
1,000,000%. I think that's exactly what happened. Because she had that name and because we associated with the most iconic murder case of the 20th century, that gave her credibility to make that tape.
You know what I'm thinking of is I'm thinking of Brittany Gastineau. Remember the Gastineaus?
I do remember the Gastineaus.
So she really would have gone that way. That she would have just been we would have seen Kim Kardashian in the back of photos of people coming out of nightclubs. She just would have been and friend.
Yeah, exactly. Is it a stretch to say it would have still been Paris Hilton?
I think you can't age. You can't. I don't think Paris Hilton would have capitalized in the way that. I think Kim Kardashian, as much as this is difficult for me to say, is just a prettier person.
Oh, she
Paris
totally
Hilton
is. But
right.
Paris Hilton, like Kim Kardashian took everything Paris Hilton did and did it better, right? She's more attractive.
Yeah.
The sex tape was more successful. She parlayed it more with celebrities and everything. Is it fair to say like Paris Hilton created a monster, and if she'd never created that monster, she would still be the number one socialite we all look at with disdain, but kind of admire?
So Paris Hilton and Molly Ringwalder at the Ivy in Beverly Hills discussing regrets, and this is Paris's.
I think so. I was kind of thinking Victoria Beckham, like she's an import, so that wouldn't really work.
Well, and the Kardashian family is really Kim Kardashian, interesting in the family context. I don't even think without the family, which you get, the Kardashians are rising in the way that they have. Because then you have not one person trying to do press all over the world. You have 3 people. Right. You have 5 people. You have 8 people. And you have all these kind of, the fact that Brody Jenner was familiar to some folks, that obviously Bruce Jenner was this interesting figure as well.
Right. You have this broad base of like peripheral knowledge. Right. All people need is like a peripheral knowledge of you. That's why some people launch and some people don't, and like they've created this monster. And if it hadn't been for OJ, probably would have never happened.
So we all blame it back on OJ.
Thanks a lot, OJ.
You know what OJ would be doing right now? He would be co-hosting with Kelly Ripa.
That's a great call. Live with Kelly and OJ. And
my gosh.
It would be amazing.
It would be amazing. Wow. Okay. So my next mystery is, what if John Travolta, star of stage and screen, sex symbol of the 70s, my mom's crush of all crushes, what if John Travolta had never become a Scientologist?
Interesting.
What would have here's what I think would have happened. One, he would have continued to make because he had the comeback of all comebacks in Pulp Fiction.
Okay, can I ask a question here?
Sure.
Being somewhat ignorant of John Travolta, what are we blaming? What are we drawing a line between Scientology and his career on? Is it before the
Battlefield Earth?
Oh, okay, that
right?
makes sense.
Because he had a strong career in the 70s and 80s. It started to diminish slightly. He had a huge comeback in Pulp Fiction. And then he was also in Get Shorty. And he was really kind of acclaimed, critically acclaimed, and had a lot of commercial success. And then he joined Scientology, and he made Battlefield Earth. And from there, it has done nothing but gone downhill. Like, it's just been a tragic career path. And I feel like Scientology put him in cahoots with people that the average person does not like. So
I agree.
People don't like Kirstie Alley. People do not like Leah Remini. People do not like
I think Leah Remini's out of Scientology.
That's right. She's out now. but
Don't
doesn't
besmirch the good name of Stacey Carosi
know.
in my presence ever again.
My apologies,
Okay.
of course. And so he made this huge movie that was probably considered financially the biggest flop of all time.
Right.
All time. And it's really one of the worst movies ever. And so then he just could not get work. He just could not get good work. I mean, he had to dress, the only thing he could do is dress as a woman and be in Hairspray. And only then was it, and our focus was really, let's be honest, on Zac Efron.
They're like, you could dress as a woman in Hairspray, and then you can be the voice with Miley Cyrus in a crappy Disney movie. Those are your options right now, John Travolta.
Those are your choices. So here's what I think happens. He does not join Scientology. He then, of course, he converts to Judaism.
Okay.
He has a hugely successful career, and he comes out of the closet and lives happily ever after with his life partner.
And the good name of Adele Dazeem never gets brought in.
Never gets brought in.
Okay, two things. One, and I'm 80% on this, okay? So take it with a grain of salt. Do you know who the studio wanted for John Travolta's role in Pulp Fiction?
Mel Gibson.
No, that's a really good guess. The studio wanted Daniel Day-Lewis.
Oh, yeah.
Wanted him so bad. Daniel Day-Lewis wanted it so bad. Quentin Tarantino didn't want it, and it didn't work out. And that's why John Travolta got it. Number two, Gwyneth Paltrow converting to Judaism. The most Paltrow move that she's ever made, or the most Paltrow move she's ever made?
I say it ties with starting your own website and calling it Goop.
I think, I don't know. I think Judaism is the peak Paltrow right now.
I don't know. It's difficult. If she starts, let's say this, I think peak Paltrow would be dating Zac Efron, marrying the head of Apple, like Tim Cook, although he is gay. Still, like that would be a Paltrow move, like because she's that crazy.
No, I think a peak Paltrow move would be her converting to Judaism and then officiating the marriage of Tim Cook and his life partner or whatever that situation is.
That's true. And then her coming out
marriage, I think that would be it.
And then she would come out on stage at the iPhone 7 event and give away her book to everyone on iBooks. Is that what would happen?
I think so. I think that's fair. Can I leapfrog off your Scientology and raise you another Scientology?
Sure.
Okay, Jamie. Tom Cruise, our friend, our good friend. He goes on Oprah, right?
Yes.
And the world's never the same. There's a great article we talked about a couple months ago. I think it was how that moment like changed media, changed pop culture for everyone, and how we think he jumped on the couch with Oprah, and really he never jumped, but the internet kind of made it seem like he did. He actually just stood on the couch. Anyways, him doing that made us all think that dude is crazy, right?
Right.
And then all you need is like a little crease, a little crack in the foundation to be like, well, what else is kind of weird about that dude? Why is he that weird? Let's delve further into the mystery of this Tom Cruise. And that kind of brought Scientology to the surface with us, right?
Right.
So let's say Tom Cruise never goes on Oprah, never freaks out. We really have no license to look further into Tom Cruise because he's just Tom Cruise and we just like him. He just makes good movies, right? Is it fair to say that Scientology never really comes into the focus like it is now?
I think so.
Because why?
Because
like, who cares? It's just another weird like pseudo religion, right?
It's Kabbalah,
right?
Because nobody really digs deep into Kabbalah,
right? Until someone lights a match and is like, let's see how weird this gets. So if that's the case, do you think last year P.T. Anderson makes The Master?
Right.
Because The Master is largely tangentially about. I feel like I'm saying tangentially a lot, and I just want to apologize. I'm not 100% sure what it means.
We accept your apology.
But it feels right. It's about Scientology without being about it, so they don't get sued. But it certainly is about it. That movie probably doesn't get made, does it?
It does not. Why would it? We wouldn't even be interested in it. No studio is going to pick that up.
No one's going to make that up. So let me go one step further. This might be a reach. Is it fair to say that Philip Seymour Hoffman, maybe he doesn't die young if that movie doesn't get made? Because if you've seen that movie, it's a dark, weird, existential kind of movie, right? And it drives people to a place. It takes you to a weird zone. And maybe if we're in circumstantial arguments and stuff right now, maybe that doesn't take Philip Seymour Hoffman to a weird place. And maybe it doesn't precipitate him overdosing. Is that a fair assessment to make, or do you think I'm reaching?
All right. So you've just said, let me recap.
This is condescending Jamie voice, so I'm just the hair, like my hair's up, like I'm in defense mode now.
You've just said that Tom Cruise declaring his love for Katie Holmes on a yellow couch on the Oprah Winfrey show, showing his love for her, caused the suicide overdose of Philip Seymour Hoffman.
I'm gonna just revise real quick. Oprah caused it. She provoked Tom Cruise with some questions about Katie Holmes.
So I'm sorry.
Oprah
so not Tom Cruise. Oprah caused the death of Philip Seymour Hoffman. That's the headline of the segment.
Thank you. I just want to be quoted concisely here.
That's fair. Yeah, I think that's a reach.
You think it's agree to disagree, Jamie Golden?
Well, here's what I think about. I mean, you can have more mysteries. I have more mysteries. But what I don't understand is these choices that people make, like the crazy things that celebrities do. You think about who has made crazy choices and somehow it did not impact them. The winner of that contest always is who? Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton does the craziest, stupidest, worst things. He has an affair with an intern in the White House. He ends up serving 2 terms and leaves with the highest approval rating of any president ever. You know, like that's the PR team you want if you are jumping on a couch or hitting an SUV with an umbrella. That is the team you want on your side.
Do you think it's just some people have good timing, some people don't, and your judgment and your timing can precipitate bad things, or it cannot?
Well, for sure, because any of these things that were done, if Tom Cruise had been Clark Gable and he jumped on a couch on a radio show, we wouldn't even know. Like,
right.
You know, you can have tons of mysteries, but this day and age, you can't. Like, no. It's just it's.
But even with Bill Clinton, like if the economy was in the tank, oh my gosh, he would have been crucified. He would have been crucified. But the economy wasn't, so it was like, well, it's cool, no big deal. But
so you're saying that Americans generally, if they are paying less taxes and the dollar is worth more when they go to Canada,
you can get away with so much.
They pretty much will overlook any of your sins.
You can get away with so much.
That's fair.
I have a couple quick hitters I want to ask you about. Okay. So in the 80s, Michael Jackson is kind of at the height of his powers. He does a commercial shoot with Pepsi, and his hair catches on fire, right?
Yes.
This leads to some skin damage, leads to a lot of plastic surgery, leads to him really starting his addiction to anxiety meds and pain medication. And we all know where that ended. My question is, if his hair never catches on fire, what happens to Michael Jackson? And basically, does he become bigger than the Beatles?
What album like that? Because you're saying he would have made better content even after. To me, he's as big as the Beatles because I have no interest in the Beatles.
As big. I'm saying, would he have been bigger? Because you can draw a line and say his hair catching on fire took him down a path that made him super weird, super reclusive, super unredeemable, right? If it never happens and he never goes down that path, maybe he's still a weirdo, but it never gets emboldened as much as it did. I think he becomes bigger than the Beatles because of the culture, because of all those things, the consumability and everything. He's still alive, and he's like an icon of the 19th or the 20th century music scene.
I think what's going to happen to him is the same thing. He's going to end up with some sort of Whitney Houston curse, which is there's no way that Michael Jackson is not going down a destructive path.
You think so?
Singed hair or not. You think about his background. Mm-hmm. I mean, like, God is big and can do many things. And so he could have redirected Michael Jackson's steps. But I'm thinking generally, if it's not singed hair on this commercial, it's that he falls out of an airplane on a Delta commercial. Like something bad is happening to him somewhere down the road.
I hate when people fly out of airplanes on commercial shoots.
No, it's the worst. But I think it goes to the Molly Ringwald comment that you made in terms of, like, I think we like Michael Jackson better because I really, to be honest, like that he didn't have a lot of bad music and bad career. And now he's dead.
In my head, I was like, Jamie was
worse.
trying to pin me down on Oprah causing Philip Seymour Hoffman's death, and then here's Jamie defending a child molester. Like it's a weird world we live in, guys.
I'm just saying, Pepsi may have done Michael Jackson a favor.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
That's all I'm saying.
That's fair. All right, last one. Let's say Britney Spears never cheats on Justin Timberlake. What happens to Justin Timberlake, Jamie?
Oh, that's right, because we don't get Crimea River.
We'd never get Crimea River. We'd never get he shaves his pube hair. Never get that. That never happens. Can I tell you what happens? I know what happens.
What? Tell me.
Justin Timberlake and Nick Lachey own a minor league baseball team together in Ohio.
That's sad. And then the only Justin Timberlake experience we have is eating ribs in Memphis.
Probably. We get JC Chazé, like, fills the boy band void, but he never really rises up. It's him instead of Adam Levine on whatever that stupid music show is. Where
The Voice?
Thank you, The Voice. Jeez. Sorry. I feel like I'm having a stroke right now.
It's fine. It's just highly ranked. It's fine.
It's just highly rated. Whatever. But I think that's what happens, though. Tell me I'm wrong.
Wow. Thank you, Brittany. That's all I can say.
Right?
Thank you, Brittany.
Right. It was the best thing that
Whoever
ever happened.
that guy is. Yeah, thank you, Brittany.
Yep. Okay, Jamie. Well, that's our pop culture mysteries. If you have any, or you want to ask some questions, or you want to post them on our Facebook.com/the podcast page, and you want us to answer them, we'd love to do that. Go there, list them or tweet them at us, and we'd love to talk them over with you.